Peace, people. Peace and light. It's your friendly neighborhood Imah X with the latest installment of Tea Time. And honestly, this is almost a continuation of my last blog, but ironically, it's on a completely different subject matter. So, the subject of this blog is XXXtentacion, and prior to the young brother's demise, I had never really heard anything of him besides negative. Listen, I'm a fossil, dog. Like, I just started really trying to get into the new scene of music, so I don't know who none of these dudes are. Like, I have just really started trying to delve, but largely because of media perception, have largely painted them all with one swath. And for that, I apologize, because the vehement reaction to this brother has really been making me wonder, anytime people respond that strongly, there's usually a very polarizing energy. So I wanted to form my own opinion and not just take things at face value. So I ended up going down a YouTube rabbit hole. I was watching a Professor Griff video about the power of the pen. It started with Charlamagne talking about Donkey of the Day, because someone called up saying that, XXXtentacion wasn't dead and that he faked his death. Charlamagne gave him Donkey of the Day, and he was talking about the power of the pen and how, Snoop Dogg was talking about how he wrote the song Murder Was the Case that they gave him before he actually got a murder case. And after he manifested that shit, he started being much more careful about the things that he wrote. So, he was talking about how potentially, putting that energy out there, that I'm ready to die type of energy, can kind of bring that to you. I watched a Professor Griff video about, a very similar thing. I didn't watch the full thing. But, I was just clicking through different things and I came across an interview that he did on DJ Academics, which the original version that I came across was like an hour or so long, but it was specifically the parts with him talking about his death potentially. But because I'm me and I'm never satisfied with, like, I found out there was a full interview that was 3 hours, so that's what I did with my night last night. I listened to this young brother speak for 3 hours, and it profoundly affected me on multiple levels. First, it really sucks finding out somebody is an artist that you would love to work with when you find out that they've passed and they're no longer with us. So, yeah, that's just a personal thing. Bull was a really beautiful person, and I know there are tons of people who are like, what about what he did? What about, the mistakes that he has made and so forth? But I think a lot of times within this society, and specifically within the Black community, we have a tendency to not have sympathy or compassion towards hurt people who act out their hurt as opposed to internalizing it. So I read a study recently that said that a lot of times behavioral problems and, trauma in girls is much less diagnosed because they tend to emote inward in terms of anxiety and depression, whereas boys tend to be more acting out, so they'll be having loud outbursts, and because testosterone functions different than estrogen on a basic level, an induction versus basically second adrenaline. So the way that they manifest in the body and the effects that they have on the different sexes is an active thing. So I feel like a lot of times when people act out within this society, their hurt is never taken into account. And not saying that that should automatically excuse them or like make what they did forgivable. I feel like everything is on an individual case by case basis. But there are some people who have legitimately done things acting from their own trauma before they had knowledge of really the power that they had, or what the damage, or they were really just acting out of their hurt. And I feel like a lot of times we don't seek to heal these people. We just kind of discard them. And we want to heap them in a pile of like unredeemable monsters and paint everything as if it's so black and white when there's mostly nuances and shades of gray. I can guarantee most of the people who I have heard having such negative reactions to his death have never heard him speak. I don't think it's possible to hear this brother speak and then talk about pissing on his grave, which is an actual factual quote I've seen from people. And larger than that, that's somebody's baby, and he didn't kill anybody. And at the end of the day, his life was taken. And for you to feel like he deserved that when he was just trying to figure himself out and trying to get to the point to be to the best of himself, I feel like that's everything that's wrong with us as a society. The inability to empathize because of your own trauma. A lot of the people who I've seen reacting the most negatively were people who had either been through those situations firsthand or who had known someone personally close to them who has been through a similar situation. And I can understand why that would be triggering. But we have got to climb out of our feelings. We have got to get over ourselves, because it is not about us as individuals. It is about us as a whole. There are a lot of young people who are struggling with their own imperfections, their own indecision about which particular path to follow, their own anger issues, their own trauma. And all they are seeing is that someone who was legitimately trying is being thrown under the bus. And do you think that is having an encouraging effect on them or a discouraging effect? Do you think that makes them feel like it's worth it to try to change, maybe if they're not the best of themselves yet? Or do you think that it really makes them go, why bother? I don't want a whole generation of babies to go, why bother? I don't want to discard our youth just because the system has done its job in fucking them up. Bull grew up in foster care without a mother. We know the negative effects that they can have on young black males. It is studied and documented well over. And yet everybody wants to act like his actions occurred within a vacuum, and it does not excuse him. But at what point is forgiveness not a thing? At what point is healing not a thing? Isn't that the goal? Or is the goal just to discard people and constantly punish them for who they were? Do we really believe that people can change? Because I really believe people can change. I really have that much faith in you and in me to know that if you go through something and it touches you deep enough and it wakes you up and you see things different, then you can and will want to be different. I have faith. I don't think that people are just pre-programmed cogs acting out. I don't think everybody's pre-programmed cogs. I believe in the divine spark of humanity that is within all of us. That is God, that says at any moment you can change this shit with your will if you want to. the young bull was talking about telling his followers not to take Xanax after another rapper passed away. He was talking about not wanting to kill himself because of the responsibility he felt like he had to his fan base. He talked about, understanding the frequencies of his music so that he was actually doing things to raise people's vibrations instead of just a lot of this fuck ass music that just puts you in a very low vibrational space. He was talking about how he doesn't like to stunt with his money and shit because at the end of the day, a lot of his fans don't have that, and he doesn't think it's cool to lord it over them like, ha ha ha, I'm balling and you're not. And that is so refreshing to hear from this new age of rappers, and the fact that everybody is just throwing him under the bus without actually taking a second of consideration is exactly what have been happening to young black males in this country for centuries. So you have to look at yourself and see, are you part of the problem? Are you one of the people who's like, because it's a slippery slope to he hurt somebody. It's a slippery slope to he hurt somebody. He deserved to die too. He resisted arrest. He deserved to die. It's all the same thing, but life is fucking sacred. And we don't treat it as such. So maybe y'all have forgotten, but life is fucking sacred. And this is the only one you get, dog. When this shit is over, it's over. So, you have a responsibility. We all have a responsibility to be our best. And I think Jadena made a very good comparison. And not that he was comparing Malcolm X and XXXtentacion, but more so saying if Malcolm X had died when he was that age, how would he have been remembered in history? He would have just been dismissed as another thugging black male. All of these young men have Malcolm X potential. All of them, if given the right nurture and environment for healing. We have to heal our babies. We cannot just throw them the fuck away and say, oh, because you aren't the best of yourself right now, you aren't worthy of my love. No, I don't care how anybody else feels. If anybody who watches this video ever needs a person to fucking talk to, I've been through depression. I've been through anxiety. That shit is not fun. And a lot of times you will act in self-destructive ways when you're in that hurt. And at those times is when you need compassion the most. Is when you need a kind word the most. Is when you need positive vibes the most. But if people are so deep in their shit that they can't be the change that they want to see in the world, then where do we end up? Where do we end up? Like, this shit saddens me on so deep of a level, and it's such a microcosm for so many things that are going on. And it's like we don't understand how big of an impact that trauma has. Like, a lot of people who are on the other side of their healing want to tell you to respect people's trauma and respect people's triggers, but they don't reach back and have that same compassion for people who are still actively in their hurt. A lot of times, people who have found their own healing feel like, oh no, well, I got healed, you need to go and do the same. It is not on me to do the emotional labor of helping you. But imagine if the motherfucker who helped you had felt that way, where the fuck would you be? Imagine Imagine if the person who was your light had treated you that way, where would you be? We all have a responsibility to each other. We are all one, and I just did a video on that. Shout out to Sweet Honey and The Rock. But we are all one. Everything is interrelated. We are all connected. We are in a symbiotic relationship with this earth and with each other. We have to take care of each other and get back to basic decency and humanity. That is somebody's child. Imagine how his mother feels reading the hatred and vitriol that you guys spew. Have some compassion, because it's bigger than all of us. It is this. We are forming patterns. We are setting precedents right now. And I am frightened that when we look back, we will see that a lot of these things are definitive moments in our path. We have got to treat each other better in life, in death, in our brokenness, in our healing, at our worst, at our best. I love all of y'all, and all I want is for y'all to be the best of yourselves. And if you need a motherfucker to give you a pep talk, hit me up. You need somebody to hold your hand through that shit, hit me up. You need to come and smoke a L, hit me up. Whatever, dude. You want to go sit in nature and fucking meditate, hit me up. You need to make some music, hit me up. You want to get a verse off your chest, I got the can, hit me up. Because I am really about the healing of my people, dog. And not just when it's convenient, and not just when it's pretty, and not just when they're the best of themselves. Because I really believe in the golden rule, in treating people how you would like to honestly be treated. I try to give what I get. And even if I don't get it, I still try to give it just because that is what's right. And Bull had the same energy. You hear him talk and he had the same energy. You hear him talk about doing charity and you see the light that comes into his eyes. You hear him, DJ Academics, mention his mother and you see the smile that comes on his face. You see the humanity in this young man. You see the beauty in his spirit shining through, and all y'all just want to listen to what TV says and what the media portrays. And it's like, it could be any one of us, because what happens if they put something on me? Oh, Imah X did this. Y'all are so quick to believe the negative about people with absolutely no option for redemption. Like, we have got to do better. I understand that a lot of people have been hurt by men, by black men, by people who have put their hands on you. And I understand that they were not justified in doing that. And I hold space for all of those people as well. I've been in an emotionally abusive relationship. I hold space for all of those people as well. But I also understand that the person who I was in an emotionally abusive relationship with was really just acting out his trauma and was trying his best. And that's all people can do, dog. And he is a better man for having gone through it. And I am a better woman for having gone through it. But I feel like a lot of times, if people don't heal, if people don't forgive, they can't see the nuances in the situation. They can't release themselves of that energy. Forgiveness is not about the other person like that. I'm sorry. I'm fucking crying. I don't even... forgiveness is not about the other person. Forgiveness is about you. Forgiveness is about being at peace with the universe and with what happened. And I understand for a lot of people in a lot of situations that is difficult. I lost my father when I was 7 to gun violence. And that shit still hurts. To this day, it still hurts. But there's a difference between the hurt of a scar and the hurt of an open wound. There is a difference between the hurt of a scar and the hurt of an open wound. And I feel like a lot of people don't get that. We have got to forgive each other for being a manifestation of this fuck ass society. The culture is sick. It's nothing wrong with people. It's everything wrong with the nature and the nurture of the environment. And that is why these things are running rampant. It's not this many flawed, broken people. Babies come out the womb pure and fucking perfect, dog. We fuck them up. We allow this society with its fuck ass values to fuck them up. And then we want to pass judgment on them. That is irresponsible and unfucking fair. Imagine if Harriet Tubman had got to fucking freedom and turned back to niggas and was like, I got free. These niggas need to find their own way. It is not on me to go back and do the labor of bringing motherfuckers to freedom. Where would we be? That's how y'all sound. Do better. Love each other. Err on the side of compassion. I love y'all, and this has been your friendly neighborhood Imah X, signing off.